Hey guys, today I'll be covering how to build a team specific for each floor of Genshin Impact's hardest content, which is the Spiral Abyss. So let's get right to it.
Like, comment, subscribe.
So the first thing we'll do is to look at the enemies they have in store for us. So I'll be looking at floor 9 primarily, but I'll hop onto the other floors just to, in case you don't know what I'm referring to when I talk about the content. So first thing we'll be looking at the element, specifically the elements of the shield and whether there are any elemental slimes and whether the enemies have any elemental or physical resistances. But we'll go into resistances later because resistance is slightly more complex topic. So as a general rule of thumb, we don't want the same element DPS as the slime, and we want at least one of our supports or sub DPS to be of the optimal element to break the shield. So what do I mean by this? For instance, for the first half, we have a wooden shield, which is basically Dendro shield. So this Dendro shield can only be broken by pyros. So okay, it must be noted that we don't actually need to break the shield to kill him. It just makes it a lot easier because direct attacks wouldn't affect him with the shield on. So next will be the slimes. So obviously we won't want a Hydro DPS because that wouldn't work on this slime. And for the second half, we will see a Hydro Abyss Mage, which means that he will have a Hydro Shield. Then we have to break in order to start killing him. So unlike the wooden shield, this shield is actually compulsory to break. We can't damage him if we don't break the shield. So the optimal element to break the Hydro Shield will be Cryo, but Electro and Pyro work kind of well against it, so even if we don't have Cryo, it's not the end of the world. Chamber 2, we have a Cryo Fatui and a Hydro Fatui as well, and also the Electro and the Geo. So all of these, the only thing that they have in common that will be effective against them will probably be Pyro, because even for the Geo guy, Pyro is involved in overload reactions which could break the Geo shield. Other than that, we can also use Electro for these three guys, and then when it comes to the Electro shield, we will use Cryo. So to sum things up for this chamber, it must be noted that we need a mix of elements in order to kill all of them. And one tip for you guys, that will be Anemo will be one of the best to counter this particular chamber, because you can just swirl the elements together. So when you swirl the Electro and Cryo, you get Super Conduct, which lowers their physical defense, which will be again covered later for resistances. And also you'll probably need a Claymore or Geo user, or maybe even a Klee to bomb this guy's shield. And for the second half, it's just a bunch of small guys, so we'll touch on that later. And for the third chamber, this guy has a Cryo shield, this guy has a Geo shield, this guy doesn't have a shield, this one sometimes pops Electro shield up. You have to keep in mind that the chambers are all linked. So for example, if I were to get my third star on the third chamber, it will mean that I have to clear the first and the second chamber. I don't necessarily have to get 3 stars for both of those, but I have to at least clear them in order to reach the third chamber. So for example, if I were to have a Hydro DPS, let's say for this, the Hydro DPS will be perfectly fine to clear the third chamber, but it will not be possible to clear some of the earlier chambers like the Hydro Slime, the Hydro Abyss Mage, etc. So just a thing to note for the floors. Okay, and now we will move on to the next topic, which is resistances, which is can be kind of complex, because at the start when I was just googling on the wiki and stuff to like figure out all the resistances, but there's a few general rules of thumb that we can follow, which I feel like it really helped me through my journey through the Abyss. So generally speaking, everything that has an element in its name, of course except for the Grenader, Shooters and Potioners, they will be resisting the element or even immune to it. So for example, the Hydro Slime is immune to Hydro. Okay, we don't care about the shooters. This Hydro guy, he's slightly resistant to Hydro. This Animal guy, he's slightly resistant to Animal. And of course the Abyss Mage is immune to Hydro when he has the Hydro shield, and he's resistant to Hydro without the shield, etc. So the more important ones that I'll be going into would be these guys. So the Fatui and the Treasure Hoarders, what they have in common is that they share weakness for physical damage. So Geo Elements and big guys, they are weak to they are resistant to physical. So even this guy, the Mitachos, they are considered big guys and they are weak and they are resistant to physical damage. And of course the Fatuis are not, because they are weak to physical. So these are resistant. These Lavachos, they are also resistant to physical. I'll just give a few more examples and then we'll move on. So the Lavacho and Lavacho and the Mitachos. And oh yes, and Geovishop and big Primal Geovishop. So we'll just keep that in mind when we build a team for the Abyss. Okay, and with that, I think we are done with resistances. Of course, I'll pop a link in the description for the website that I referenced. Which really helped me plan my teams, because resistances is honestly a very difficult thing to get. But once you follow a few general rules of thumbs, you kind of get the hang of it and you get used to it. Okay, so now we'll look at the ley line disorders when we build teams. So firstly, we'll look at the Blessing of Abyssal Moon. So this is the big buff that applies to the entire Spiral Abyss, no matter what floor you're on. So in this season of the Abyssal Moon, is basically rewarding you for using your Elemental Burst. So when you use Elemental Burst, you gain attack, which stacks up to 7 times. At max stacks, you'll do some Shockwave that deals AoE damage. So this doesn't exactly help us unless you're building a team, for example the Raiden Shogun, a team with Raiden Shogun where you can cast your burst faster because of the energy recharge. But apart from that, it doesn't really help us, but it's still good to know that we can keep in the back of our minds when we fight the Abyss, because sometimes when you cycle, you can time your cycles to use all your bursts together, so that your main DPS will have a longer duration that his attack will be buffed. But I'll cover how to cycle within your teams in a later video. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to the floor's ley line disorder. So each floor will have its own ley line disorder, except for floor 12, where the ley line flow is normal. So for floor 9, we will see that there's a plasma field that will generate at the edge, and basically you will take electro damage when you're in the field. Honestly, when I fight floor 9, I don't really look at this area that is like expanding and stuff. It's kind of natural. You'll see what I mean. Later I'll actually do this floor for you guys to see. The ones that are more important will be floor 10 and 11. So floor 10, there will be a attendant, and there'll be a leader and there'll be attendants. So basically the attendants will buff the leader, so they are kind of making you kill the attendants before the leader. So usually the leader will be the big guy and the attendants will be the smaller guys that are easier to kill. So it's significantly harder to fight this floor if you go for the leader first, unless you can like burst him down really fast. But for the average person that is watching this video, you're watching it because you're struggling to Abyssal, so I would assume that you wouldn't be bursting the leader down. So yeah, go for the attendance before you go for the leader. And for floor 11, when we read this, it's kind of a mouthful, but then we can see that there's this corrosion that comes about when you kill enemies. Alright, I think that's about it for this part. With that, I think we can move on to create our two teams. So I'll be doing a demonstration for how to create a team for floor 9, but I won't be actually giving a rundown of what I do exactly for floor 9 because I think most people don't struggle with floor 9 and floor 10, but I'll definitely create a run through of floor 11 and floor 12 at some point in time because these can be quite difficult and not everyone can clear it with 9 stars for each of the floors. But if some of you are having trouble clearing floors 9 and 10, then I'll make a run through of it. Okay, so I'll be using Xiao as a DPS for the first half, and yeah, Xiao as DPS for the first half because I need animal for these people, for these shielders, because there's a lot of different elements, so I would generally want a guy that can slow things up. And for the second half, I might be using my Xiangling sub DPS with Shogun sub DPS team for the second half. Yep, should not be an issue there. I won't be using. Okay, wait. You know what? Let's not use 5 stars for these because it's supposed to be a demonstration video, so like I can't demonstrate something that you guys don't have. So I'm sure most of you guys don't have like all the 5 stars that I have. So I will not be using 5 stars for this demonstration. So for the first half, I'll just wait, let me just take a look again. Okay, I'll be using Xiangling for the first half instead, and I can use Razor for the second half. Of course, it won't be as effective as the other the 5-star DPS I have, like Xiao and Gan Yu, but I think it will still demonstrate my point clearly. So okay, are we using Xiangling and Burnett with probably Diona and Xingqiu. Yeah, okay, maybe not Diona. Maybe I'll just give him a Animal Traveler because everyone has that. Like honestly, the only 2 people I really need for this floor is like these 2 guys. Then this is to like multiply the damage and stuff, but it's not compulsory. And yeah, just an Animal Traveler just for the lols, because I need my Sucrose for the second half more than the first half. But at the same time, I need an animal person in the first half. Okay, so Razor, Diona, sucrose, and I need someone to fill the last slot. Okay, I haven't built like any of these other characters, but I guess I'll just throw in a Barbara. Yeah, why not? I'll just throw in a Barbara because Barbara can heal passively while my Razor is on the field, so there's some synergy in there. Alright guys, I hope you're enjoying this video so far. So I'll just like to do a little voiceover because I forgot to mention this part about elemental resonance. So if you notice when you're building a team, when you have two pyro users, such as the one in my first half, Xiangling and Burnett, I'll have a 25% attack boost, so that is really good. And there's other kinds of elemental resonance as well. And these effects can stack as well, so I can have 2 pyro, 2 animal to enjoy both the pyro and the animal resonance effects. Okay, so we still have a little bit of time, so I'll just talk a little bit about my Genshin Impact life so far. So I started playing Genshin Impact in 1.0 way back almost a year ago, and the first character that I really mained was actually Razor, which is what you see here. So playing him makes me feel a little bit nostalgic. But shortly after that he got replaced because Klee came out and I summoned for her. And Klee was honestly the best value unit I had because I used her for like 7-8 months straight, and I didn't get a better replacement for her, especially because the Spiral Abyss back in the day was very pyro-centric, so you need to have a pyro DPS, if not you will suffer. And even when I summoned for Xiao didn't exactly replace my Klee because there were 2 halves of the Abyss. So one half was Klee main DPS and the other half was Xiao main DPS. Of course I also have Gan Yu. I summoned for her before Xiao, but she just wasn't exactly my style because okay, honestly it's just because I'm kind of a noob at aiming and sometimes I'll miss, so she wasn't exactly very reliable. I even have the full Morgana team and with a Sucrose instead of Venti. And finally in 2.1 I got myself a Raiden Shogun, so she's the latest member of my team. Alright, that wraps it up for today's video, and I'll be recording a video on the different roles in each team shortly after this video goes up, and thanks for watching.